Good afternoon, and thank all of you for coming out. My name is Spencer Jones. I'm a registered nurse and CEO of LineGard Med. When you go into the hospital, they have to give you IV fluids. They administer these through peripheral IV sites, which most of us are familiar with, but also through central lines, which are much larger, much more expensive IV access devices. About a year ago, I was caring for a patient who had dementia, and during my nightly rounds, I walk into the room to find blood all over the bed, and I can still see her face holding that IV site she had ripped out of her arm, not knowing what she had done. This problem wasn't specific to my unit or even my hospital. The Journal for Interventional Vascular Radiology found that 7.5% of all central lines are accidentally dislodged, each time costing about $575 on average. Even more frequently, 24 million peripheral IVs every year are accidentally dislodged, each time costing about $45. This all accumulates to a cost on the U.S. healthcare system of almost $1 billion a year. Now, aside from the money wasted on this, every time this happened, it was extremely painful and traumatic for the patient, the family, and myself as a nurse. And one of the most frustrating things was that I just didn't have the tools at my disposal to prevent it from happening. Until now. That's why I'm so excited to present to you all our SafeBreak device. The SafeBreak is a two-piece breakaway adapter that goes in between the patient's IV site and their IV tubing. We create a sealed liquid connection, but upon a certain threshold of tension, our device separates. We protect that IV access site, and we also seal off that IV tubing, alarming the pump to let the nurse know to come in the room and investigate. By creating this necessary separation in the line, we prevent the accidental dislodgement of IV access devices. In doing so, we reduce the amount of unnecessary supplies that a hospital has to purchase, and we optimize their nurse labor. Nurses spend less time doing painful and unnecessary tasks and more time providing high-quality care to their patient population. The competitors in the securement device market all have one thing in common. They predicate around being the strongest adhesive possible. We see the problem, and therefore the solution, a little bit differently. We understand that all adhesives will fail at a certain point. That's why we only rely on that adhesive up to 6 pounds of pull force, upon which our device separates. In providing that necessary separation, we protect the IV access device regardless of the catastrophic pull force. We are a 510K Class II device, and our predicate is a standard Luer lock connector used in hospitals all over the U.S. today. For reimbursement, when sold in those central line kits, we will piggyback off of their reimbursement. When sold single package, we will be reimbursed as part of the room charge, as are the other securement devices. During our customer discovery with nurses, physicians, and the different hospital C-suite members, we came to understand that the adoption of these products is truly driven by that evidence-based research. So that's where we begin. We'll be conducting proactive studies and clinical trials with our device to generate that clinically rich data. Then we begin our clinical education phase. We take these results and disseminate them through the different vascular access and infusion-related journals and national conferences. That clinical demand is really going to drive our early adopters, who we've identified as hospitals that self-distribute and those that have a high critical care bed count. We're going to convert those successful trials into purchase orders and then leverage those success stories and a distribution partnership to begin selling into the larger hospital systems. And this is where our growth really accelerates. So for us, we envision securing 25% of the hospital's lines, namely all of the access lines in critical care and all of their central lines. So for the average size hospital, this means 10,000 units a year and $80,000 in yearly revenue with a 75% profit margin. Now, with over 5,600 hospitals in the nation, this gives us a target market of just over $450 million. But I'd like to throw in there that we've also applied additional IP claims to adapt this technology to the different Foley catheters, arterial lines, and various types of medical tubing. The team to do it starts with myself. Like I said, I'm a registered nurse and have worked in rehab, long-term care, and inpatient settings, so I really understand what patients want, but more importantly, the tools nurses need to get it done. Louis Diesel, our co-founder and chief marketing officer, has worked with 2 different startups on 2 separate continents and brings a breadth of international business and supply chain experience. And David DePoyster, our co-founder and investor, brings over 20 years of medical device sales and development experience and is also the co-owner of the manufacturer where the device is being made right now. For our advisory board, we really lean on pillars of the industry. Dr. Gregory Shears is the director at large for the Association of Vascular Access and an editor for their journal. And Don Norman, a managing partner at Memphis Regulatory Consulting, brings over 15 years of clinical affairs management experience at companies both large and small. This summer has been a whirlwind of progress for us. After obtaining our fully issued utility patent in April, we were shortly thereafter selected to this program. We filed those additional claims to adapt that technology, were able to get not one, but 2 different prototypes based on our customer feedback, and we began collaborating with the Center for Innovation and Healthcare Logistics out of the University of Arkansas. But of all the progress we've made, some of them that I'm most excited about came from both the clinical and the industry side. We received a commitment from Regional 1 right here in Memphis to conduct a pilot trial evaluating the efficacy and using our device. We've also begun working with St. Vincent's in Little Rock, Arkansas to conduct an observational proactive study to better understand the cost and outcomes associated with these accidental dislodgement events. But more than anything, the progress that I'm most excited about came just recently. We recently received a letter of intent from Medline, one of the nation's largest medical supply distributors, to be a distribution partner and also help us develop a kit around the product. I am so excited about what these partnerships mean for our path towards commercialization, and I can't wait to see where it takes us. So over the next 18 months, to accomplish these 5 milestones, our ask is $1.2 million. This will help us get through the FDA submission, complete that pilot study, launch the product, convert those trials into successful purchase orders, and after 1 year in the market, we expect to be in 10 hospitals, generating $800,000 in yearly revenue. When you go into the hospital and you get that IV access, many times it is your vital lifeline to necessary medications and therapies. We believe the hospital should be doing everything they can to protect that IV access, and we believe the SafeBreak is the patient-centered safety device to solve this problem. We are redefining access line management, and I'd love to talk to you more after the presentation. Thank you.